My favorite time of the NFL season, the part of the season where we get Saturday games. Nothing better than Saturday NFL football into Sunday NFL football. We got bowl season starting for college football as well. Going to be great. We also have $1 million up top and 3 pretty solid games. So I'm excited for this slate. If you guys are new, my name is DK. Again, we'll be talking about the Saturday NFL main slate. I make content for NFL DFS, NFL, NBA DFS, as well as for Prize Picks. If you guys are not familiar with Prize Picks, it is a player prop site. You build 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 player props. You can win up to 25x your money. They have a ton of different sports, NFL, NBA, college sports, esports. You can mix and match those. So if you want to give it a try, make sure to use the code DKDFS. That will give you a 100% match up to $100. And taking a look at these Vegas odds. So first game is the game with the highest total right now, 48 over under in the Colts-Vikings game. Vikings are currently 4-point favorites. Ravens and Browns, we got a 37 over under. Browns are 2.5-point favorites. And the Dolphins-Bills, a 43.5 over under. The Bills are 7-point favorites. Supposedly not supposed to be the best weather in Buffalo. Minnesota and the Colts is being played in a dome. So let's start it off with the quarterback position. And at the top, we have Josh Allen, 8.3K. So I think stands out as a really good play in both formats. You know, a guy that can get it done on the ground. Obviously, Miami's defense has not been great this year. And this Bills offense can explode at any moment. Like, they have a very, very high ceiling. We'll keep an eye on the weather, but assuming everything's normal, I think Josh Allen looks like a really, really good play at the top. Lamar Jackson, not expected to play. I think he's going to be back next week. We do have Huntley was listed as a full participant, so he should be back and operating as their starting quarterback. At only 5.3K, like, he's a viable punt play. Huntley has a similar skill set to Lamar Jackson where he can provide that rushing floor, right? 41 yards in the ground against Denver, 31 yards in the ground against Pittsburgh while only playing. I forget when he got injured, but he's a guy that can go get you, 40, 50, 60 yards in the ground and a touchdown. So I do think he's playable as a cheap quarterback at that price point. Below Josh Allen, you have Tua at 6.6. I mean, he's been up and down this year. So, I would say he's more of a tournament-only play. But the positive with Tua is condensed target share. So if you play him for tournaments, you kind of know where the ball is going, right? It's going to Tyreek Hill or it's going to Jalen Waddle most of the time. So that is the positive about Tua and GPPs. I don't think you can play him in a cash game. Watson, I'm kind of torn on what I want to do here. It's a low total game, not expected to be a lot of points, but another guy that can provide that rushing floor. He looked a bit better last game as opposed to his first game that he played. So, Watson kind of intrigues me. I don't think he's going to pick up a ton of ownership, but I still think he's a talented quarterback. And then you have the 2 cheap quarterbacks that are playing in the dome with Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan. Kirk Cousins, the same thing I'll say about Tua, is condensed target share, right? When he's throwing the ball, it's going to Justin Jefferson, it's going to Hockenson, it's going to Thielen, right? You know where the ball is going. So for that reason, he always makes for a good GPP quarterback, plus the highest total and being played in a dome. And then Matt Ryan's 5'2". I mean, he's been pretty bad, but in a tournament, sure, you can consider him. So those are all 6 quarterbacks on the slate, and I think Josh Allen clearly your best bet. I think, guys like Tua and Cousins look good for tournaments because of condensed target share. And then, cheap quarterback-wise, probably my favorite would be Huntley at 5'3", but that's just because of his rushing floor. All right, so moving on to running backs. Let's just go team by team really quick. It'll be easier. On the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, I think, makes for a great play. You get a really good matchup against the Vikings. The Vikings defense has been awful. And he's been like a bell cow back over the last few weeks. He played 59 in 72 snaps. He is involved in the passing game, and this is one of the best possible matchups. I really, really like JT there. On the Viking side, Dalvin Cook has been awful. That last game was really tilting. 15 carries for 23 yards. How is that even possible? But the Vikings are still playing this guy a ton. He played 55 of the 65 snaps. In my personal opinion, I think they should be giving Madison more snaps. But if they're going to continue to run Dalvin Cook for 3 yards in a cloud of dust every single play, and he's going to play 85% of snaps, he is certainly in play. He is a bit involved in the passing game. We haven't seen it as much of late, but I think Cook is a decent option. I do prefer JT, though, for a similar price point. On the Baltimore side, so I would say more just tournament plays here for the Baltimore running backs because they played a good amount of guys. So J.K. Dobbins played 26 of the 61 snaps. Then you had Edwards play 21 of the 61. Kenny Drake played 11. You saw a couple snaps with Justice Hill. So technically 4 running backs played. Again, I think the top guys would be Dobbins and Edwards just because they saw the most amount of snaps. But, not a lot of involvement in the passing game, kind of touchdown dependent, and a lot of mouths to be fed. Just tournament plays with those Ravens running backs. Now on the Cleveland side, so Cleveland, we have the two-headed monster there with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Chubb, more the early down back. Kareem Hunt, more the passing down back. So this one kind of comes down to how you think the game will go. Do you think Cleveland's going to be playing from a lead a majority of the game? If that's the case, you want to look to Chubb. If you think they fall behind early and Baltimore's in control, then you can consider a guy like Kareem Hunt for tournaments. Now, Hunt, again, the touches have gone down on him. He only had 6 touches last week, but still, again, more the PPR back, and is really cheap at 4.3. Where Chubb, again, getting majority of the work, and the guy, I think, with the higher ceiling, clearly, but he's pretty touchdown dependent at this price point. So 2 Cleveland backs, depends how you think the game goes. And then finally, we got Miami and Buffalo. So we got to keep an eye on Jeff Wilson Jr. news. Non-participant in back-to-back practices, not a great sign. And if he misses, it's going to open up Raheem Mostert. I think is a pretty good play. Mostert played 37 of the 51 snaps when Wilson went down. You saw a few snaps for Salvin Ahmed, the only other active back. So if there is no Jeff Wilson, I do like Raheem Mostert a good amount. If Jeff Wilson plays, then I expect a relatively even split, and both would just be tournament plays. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then finally, Buffalo. So Buffalo, snap-wise, last week, you saw Devin Singletary play 29 snaps, James Cook 24, Nyheim Hines 10. So they've been spreading it out more. I mean, for majority of the year, it was Devin Singletary playing like 60, 70% of the snaps. Hasn't really been the case since. So same thing I'll say about some of these other running backs, just tournament plays. I mean, Singletary a bit involved in the passing game, but his snaps have gone way down. You're seeing James Cook take some of that. You're even seeing Nyheim Hines play a few snaps. So really just tournament plays there for the Bills running backs. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. So for the Colts, pretty easy to talk about. Great matchup, and there's 3 guys that are going to play a majority of the game. So Pittman played 67 of these 72 snaps, Paris Campbell 56, and then Alec Pierce 51. So the top 3 all in play. I think Pittman at this price point looks pretty appealing to me. I know he had a bad week last week, but he's been consistently in that like 6 to 7K range. Now he's 5.8K in one of the best matchups. So I like Pittman a good amount here in the mid-range. I think Paris Campbell and Alec Pierce are totally fine salary relief plays. You're going to get a majority of the game for Paris Campbell. You should get, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 60% of the snaps for Pierce, who's been operating the slot. He's been a bit more up and down. But yeah, the other 2 wide receivers are definitely viable as well. I think going to Ashton Doolin is probably getting too cute on this small slate. I would cap at the top 3 guys. Pittman definitely my favorite there. On the Vikings side, so as I mentioned, condensed target share. If you look at last week, Justin Jefferson played 61 of the 65 snaps, 61 of the 65 for Thielen, and then 48 for KJ Osborne, who's playing in the slot but not getting a ton of targets. So I don't think I have to spend a ton of time with Justin Jefferson to tell you that he's a good play. This guy is a massive ceiling. Now, he has shown the floor, right? He can still hurt you, but I mean, the ceiling is literally like 40 fantasy points with Justin Jefferson. So love his upside, obviously. Adam Thielen at 5.2 is probably a bit easier to get to, just factoring in price. He's going to play majority of the game, 10, 6, and 8 targets over the last few weeks. And yeah, I think he's a relatively safe option in the mid-range. Osborne, if you needed a punt wide receiver, is fine. I mean, he's probably going to average around 3-4 targets a game, sub 4K price point. He'll still play a lot of snaps, but he's not going to get a lot of targets. All right, let's move on to Baltimore and Cleveland. So Baltimore wide receivers playing with the back quarterback, a little bit tough for me to feel good about any of these guys. Duvernay played 35 of the 61 snaps, 37 of the 61 for Demarcus Robinson. You saw 11 snaps for Dusty Deshaun Jackson and 4 snaps for James Prochet. So you saw a lot of 2 tight end sets for Baltimore. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, Duvernay and Robinson would be the guys since they saw the most opportunities. But I would say more tournament-only plays with these 2. I think if I had to pick one, I know Robinson's been more productive late. I actually think I would lean Duvernay over him. We'll see what ownership comes in on. I think it's probably getting too cute to go to like Jackson or Prochet. So That's Baltimore, relatively easy to talk about. On the Cleveland side, Cooper a little bit banged up. I expect him to go, though. He's been questionable the last few weeks and has given it a go. DPJ literally played 100% of the snaps, 72 of the 72. And then Amari Cooper played 62 of the 72, with David Bell playing 49 of the 72 in the slot. Cooper, again, assuming he plays, I think a good tournament play. I wouldn't say a cash game play. He's been up and down. Cleveland more run first team, but still does have that ceiling. I think DPJ is a relatively safe option. Again, he's playing a ton, getting a decent amount of snaps. 12 targets, probably a bit of an outlier, but still like some DPJ. And then David Bell at 3-1, if he is able to play, you can utilize him as a dart throw. He's been averaging like 3-4 targets a game and is a bit cheaper. Like, he's a pretty similar play, I think, to like AJ Osborne and coming in with a little bit of a cheaper price point. And finally, Miami and Buffalo. So on the Miami side, I mean, Tyreek Hill got a bit banged up, but returned to play 34 of the 51 snaps. And then Jalen Waddle. Where is Waddle? Waddle played 43 of the 51 with Trent Sherfield playing 31 snaps. Cedric Wilson playing 20. But again, he got a decent amount of those snaps when Tyreek Hill was out for a bit. So I expect Waddle and Hill to play majority of the game, with Sherfield operating in the slot, and then Wilson maybe picking up a couple of snaps. So Tyreek Hill, I mean, we'll keep an eye on the weather, and assuming he and his health, it looks like he's good to go. The ceiling is massive on Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle's been not good of late, so I think he makes for a good buy low candidate here. The opportunities are still there for him. He still has a ceiling, but he's been really bad of late. So intrigued by him for GPPs. And then Sherfield, put him in that same category of like David Bell and KJ Osborne, of slot wide receivers that are cheap, that are going to get a decent amount of opportunities. And yeah, you can utilize them for a punt play. Finally, Buffalo. Buffalo also relatively easy to talk about. Gabe Davis, 54 of the 59 snaps. Stephon Diggs, 46 of the 59. McKenzie played 38 of the 59 in the slot. They did call up John Brown, but I don't believe, let's see. He played 3 snaps. They also signed, what's his name? Cole Beasley to the practice squad. We'll see if he gets called up. If he does, I would say that it probably hurts McKenzie the most. But yeah, top end guys, I mean, Diggs, kind of the same thing I said about Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. The ceiling is massive. He has Josh Allen as his quarterback, so I like Diggs in both formats. Gabe Davis, the opportunities are there. The production really hasn't been, though. Last 3 games, sub 10 fantasy points, but still a guy that has that big play upside, can still catch a long one, right? We know the upside is still there for him. So solid tournament play in the mid-range. And McKenzie, we'll keep our news with like Cole Beasley, John Brown, but if he's going to continue to play a majority of the snaps in the slot, I think he makes for a pretty good play at 4-1. And finally, tight ends for each of these teams. So for the Colts, they're going to utilize 3 tight ends. Granson played 41 of the 72 snaps. Mo Cox 31. Jelani Woods only 15. All 3 are in play, but factoring in opportunities, I think Granson would probably be your safest bet. But if you wanted to target, a guy like Woods in tournaments who still had 2 catches and 4 targets, unlimited snaps, or Mo Cox, you can. I mean, they're going to be relatively low owned. So Granson would be, your safest bet. But if you want to look to Woods or Mo Cox and GPPs, you can. On the Minnesota side, it's pretty simple. T.J. Hawkinson's going to play majority of the game. He's been very involved, averaging like 6 to 8 targets a game. I think he is a good play if you can afford him. He's kind of in that weird price range for tight end where he's in like not really expensive, but not cheap. So like Hawkinson, and I think if you play him, it'll give you a relatively unique build just because he's just in that weird price range. For Baltimore, Mark Andrews, I think is a fine tournament play. The price did drop. I mean, he still is a guy that does have a ceiling playing with the backup quarterback. And he saw 42 snaps for Oliver, but he only played in 7 passing plays. And he saw likely play 16 snaps, played in 11 passing plays. So Andrews, I do think still isn't play. The price did come down on him. Likely Oliver would just be dart throws and GPPs. On the Cleveland side, so Njoku's been a bit banged up, but I do expect him to play. And last week he played 69 of the 72 snaps. So I like Njoku a good amount in both formats. 7 and 9 targets over the last couple weeks. He has been very involved and is not expensive. So I think he makes for a really, really good play, assuming he's good to go. If he, for some reason, gets rolled out, then he can maybe look to a guy like Harrison Bryant. On the Miami side, so things have changed a bit for Miami. Last week, you did have, or last couple of weeks, Durham Smythe has been out-snapping Gesicki. 30 snaps for Smythe, 20 for Gesicki. Gesicki still the pass catcher, though. He ran, on his 20 snaps, he ran 19 routes. So Both the Miami tight ends, I would say, are just tournament plays. We'll keep an eye on Smythe. I think he will be able to go. But yeah, they're just tournament dart throws. And then finally, Buffalo, another relatively easy team to talk about for tight end. 51 of the 59 snaps for Dawson Knox. He's getting a lot of opportunities. And is sub 4K. And again, has Josh Allen as his quarterback. But his production's been a bit up and down. So he's playable for salary relief. But I think I'd rather get to Njoku at a similar price point. And then looking at defense, I mean, defense is such a high variance position that I just, whenever DraftKings removes defense from the lot, like, I'll just be so happy when they finally remove it. I'll be so incredibly happy. But I don't think there's like a lot of standout defenses. I mean, I think the Browns are relatively safe, lowest total, going up against the back quarterback. So they're, quote unquote, maybe the safest defense, but Ravens defense definitely viable. The Bills defense playing at home at 2-7 still in play. The Dolphins offense has been up and down. So yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up the video. If you have been enjoying the NFL content, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Keep an eye out for more content, prize pick wise, NBA wise. Try to get a video up for the NFL main slate as well. I do a video breaking down the Thursday night showdown slate if you're interested in that. So make sure to check that out. Good luck on the Saturday slate.